how did we go from you working at Microsoft, me being a notary, and then like a marketing agency?
And we both had the same last name, so
We're not cousins though.
so
I feel like
I'm Hernandez and she's also Hernandez.
I feel like advertising is just so amazing. It almost feels like you're a magician. You can touch any business and turn it to gold. We have a very unique story. There's not a lot of couples that work together. We're basically together 24/7, live together.
We have a baby, little Zion.
He's
baby
8 months.
son.
And we work together. And so a little bit backstory of how we met. We actually both attended UC Berkeley, which is the #1 public university in the world. But we didn't actually meet there. I know people are like, oh my God, like it's like you met on campus at the library. But I actually posted a YouTube video. So I've always loved content. And
So at that point, I think it was my first year at Berkeley. So I transferred to UC Berkeley, actually. So my first year at Berkeley, I wanted to start posting YouTube videos as well. And I looked up first year experience at Berkeley. And I found Natalie's video where she was talking about her experience at Berkeley. And we both had the same last name. So
we're not cousins though.
So
I feel like
I'm Hernandez and she's also Hernandez. So
I swear we're not related.
yeah, so I thought that was interesting. So I watched her video and I followed you on Instagram.
Yeah.
And that was basically it. I didn't message you. I just followed you. I think you followed me back and that was it.
Yeah. And we didn't talk for about 2 years.
Yeah.
And I was in a relationship at the time and you were about to leave to Seattle, right? Oh, no, at this time I was no longer.
Yeah.
But I needed a website built. And
Yeah.
I was like, who can build me a website?
So-
And I remember that you...
The one thing I thought was super interesting about Natalie was I followed her on Instagram. So I would see her stories and she would post a lot of like entrepreneurial content, very like you'd go on rants on your stories, and I thought that was interesting. And then you reached out because you wanted your website. So my background is software engineering, so programming, building code. So she reached out and wanted a website built for your notary business.
At the time I had a notary business.
And then
that website never got built.
The website never got built.
Because we'd get on calls and it would be 10-minute websites, 2 hours of
getting to know each
dating.
other. And this was during COVID,
Yeah,
actually.
peak COVID.
Yeah.
And it was like, this was a time where I was like, I am not ready to date. I just got out of a relationship. I was like, minimum 2 years. I'm not interested.
Yeah.
And you were about to leave out of state.
So I just had graduated. So after I graduated, I had a few months off. And I was going to move to Seattle because I had a full-time job at Microsoft. So I was about to move to Seattle. And right before that, that's when we started talking and when we actually went snowboarding. So my group of friends from Berkeley, they're going snowboarding. I invited you, and that was the first time we actually,
I taught you how to
I guess our
snowboard.
first date was you taught me how to snowboard.
That wasn't a date, but I taught you how to snowboard. Then we... Out of everyone in the group, only him and I got COVID together. So we went on a week-long quarantine trip. And we actually filmed a podcast on that trip.
So we quarantined together. And we actually filmed a podcast on that trip.
Yeah, it was really cool. And I think after that, I was like, oh, man, I really like this guy. Because throughout the entire time, we were meditating, we were doing a podcast, we were working on business, and I've never met someone that really liked business the way I did at the time. So I was like, wow, this is very unique. And I think after that we started dating, but we had like a month till you were gonna leave.
Yeah, so we started dating, and I mean, even for me, when I met you, I've never met anyone who really liked business as much as you. So we just connected on that, and even when we're at Big Bear, you were growing your notary business and you would be on the phone handling business, and I thought that was pretty cool. And then so then I was about to move to Seattle to work at Microsoft, and I never liked the idea of moving to LA. I
know you were anti-LA.
Yes, I grew up in Oxnard, so by Ventura, that area. I never liked the idea of LA just because when I thought of LA, I thought of traffic. There's like nowhere to park. So I never liked the idea of it. but I also didn't know the area that much. Like it's so big and broad.
So then you ended up moving because of me.
Yeah, so
and we only were dating or talking for about 2 months. And that's kind of a bold move.
Yeah, so I moved.
I don't even think we were together. It wasn't even official.
You convinced me.
No, I didn't. I was just like,
you sold me on that idea.
You're always driving here.
Yeah, so we were basically driving back and forth like 2 hours from like Oxnard. So we're driving back and forth, and you're like, you should just move to LA. I'm like, yeah, I'm over driving, so that's not a terrible idea.
And next month you literally moved?
Well, because of COVID, working from home became a thing. It wasn't a thing before that, but because it was a thing, I ended up not moving to Seattle, moved to LA, and decided to work from home.
Wow, you're like, I'm not going to lose my dream, girl.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I feel like after that, we really started working on business. And I think transitioning to the business side, I knew I needed you in my business. You weren't involved at the time when we first started dating on that snowboarding trip. I'll never forget, and everybody talks about it. I was snowboarding down the mountain on the phone. I was literally on the phone calling notaries. I was like, hey, can you do this signing at this time? No? Okay. I was like, can you do this signing at this time? And I'm not like the best snowboarder to be doing that. And I remember you and all your friends, you guys were shocked. Like, are you on the phone? I'm like, yeah, like I really need to find a notary at 3 p.m. Like I have X amount of time.
You want to explain how that business works?
Yeah, so it's kind of like Uber, but for notaries. Like, let's say you need and I would focus on loan signing, so people that are buying houses. So escrow would reach out to me and say, hey, we need a notary at 4 p.m. So then I would have to call my book of business and say, hey, can you do a signing at 4 p.m.? No? Okay, next person. So then I would have to be calling every single person while I'm snowboarding. So it's kind of like Uber, right? You're like, hey, I need a ride from X to X place, and then they find you a person. That's when you came in and you're like, like, you wanted to spend more time with me because I was so busy with the notary business.
What I saw was that you would call a notary and they would say no. So then you'd have to hang up, call the other notary.
It was inefficient. And if you know anything about Ralph, he's the king of systems, automation, and efficiency. This man is so efficient with everything in his life, his business. He systemizes everything. Yeah. So that got you. You're like.
So then what I was like, okay, I said that there has to be a way where you can press a button and it sends a message to all your notaries, and then whoever accepts it first.
And this blew my mind when you told me that. And I'm like, it takes me hours to like sometimes find things. I'm like, what do you mean I'm going to press a button and it's going to go to all these notaries and X, Y, and Z? Yeah. And long story short, to get into our other business, he built me a custom software for the notary business. And once Ralph joined me in the notary business, we actually were able to take that business nationwide and scale it. So when I graduated from Berkeley, I was making more money than I would have gotten like a job with my degree. So then that's when I was like, man, we're good business partners. That was like the first test. And Ralph.
That was a really good piece of software, too.
Yeah, and it's hard to do.
It would even automate paying the notaries.
And that was another thing. I used to take hours to do accounting. I would remember I would have like checks this tall on my desk.
The thing about building software, it takes a lot of time. Money. You have to maintain it. It's not easy. It's really hard.
Software is really hard to build.
At one point, we just decided like we don't want to maintain it anymore, build it, because it takes a lot of time and energy. And it was just me, so I was the only one working on it. Yeah. So then we decided to use another software, but that software still sucked.
But yeah, long story short, with that business, you really helped blow it up. Yeah. And that's when I knew. I was like, damn, Ralph is a genius. I already knew that. But that was like a good test of like all that you can do in a short amount of time. And that's when we knew like we should go in on business. And to conclude the whole notary thing, we believe that AI is going to be taking notary jobs in the future, because a whole notary's point is to authenticate you say who you are. So we think AI is going to take over that. So we're thinking long term. So then at this point, now we run a marketing agency. How did we go from you working at Microsoft, me being a notary, and then like a marketing agency? Because that has nothing to do with software or notary.
How did that happen? I don't even know. I'm just kidding. No, so I think what happened was we were kind of deep into like the software, so building the notary software, but we were kind of hesitant. We want to do that long term because we're not sure about the notary business. And then we're starting to think of other softwares we can build. We actually, part-time, we worked on a software for content creators where people can plan out their content, and schedule it.
Something similar to like Buffer.
And it was pretty cool. So it was called 𝗵𝗵. And there's like options where you could press a button and it would write your caption for you. And this was when like ChatGPT was still pretty new, so that was a pretty cool feature.
I forgot about 𝗵𝗵. Ralph, he loved 𝗵𝗵. It was really cool. It was a scheduling platform, so you can schedule all of your content. The AI would write your caption, and it actually worked. Like I would make posts through it. And we had a couple beta testers.
Yeah, we did. We had some beta testers try out the software that were like social media managers or something like that. And I think the thing with that one was it was more like a software for consumers. So we're thinking of how can we build B2B. Something for businesses, because that's where the money is.
So when it comes to software, if you're going direct to consumers,
just like, because like that software, you might sell it for like $9 a month.
Yeah, it's a whole nother beast. Then we came across Hyros, and we're like, man, this is a software that businesses are paying $600,000 for, and it's a software like that's incredible. Yeah. So then we started building an advertising software that helps with your ads and tells you like the winning creative.
Be able to analyze your ads, find the winning creative, see all the data in one place. So that one, and then we kind of fell into more of learning about
ads.
Yeah, like
because we're building an advertising software
and marketing and the agency model. So then we fell into that, but there was a free event that we went to in Newport that was related to ads. So we went to that, and we went to that together, and we learned more about offers and ads and just
throughout
the
this
space
whole
in general.
process, we've been learning more about business. Like Alex Hormozi, $100 Million Offers, like all of those books we were reading, Russell Brunson. So we've really fell into this space, and I feel like we fell in love. Yeah. Like, wow.
And for me, like coming from the software space, I feel like I really like the data part of marketing and ads, where you can look at data and make certain decisions on how you're going to optimize certain campaigns to get better ROI or better ROAS.
See, that's like the software engineering in you. That's why I feel like it's so powerful that you run ads. Like somebody like you run ads because you're a software engineer, or you used to be. He quit. But you're so analytical. And you like to look at all the numbers. And I remember, coding compared to running ads, I'd be like, what's the difference? And you're like, oh my God, running ads is so easy. I used to be coding, building software from scratch. So now this is like a piece of cake for you. And I also feel that you're very creative. You always told me, like, I wish I would have studied psychology. I'm very interested in, like, what makes a person buy.
Like how the brain works.
How the brain works. And I think you used to want to do neuroscience. And that's all marketing, So I feel like we fell into the space, and we
I really loved it. It's really cool. And so I worked at Microsoft. I had like 3 internships there. Worked there for like 3-4 years. And I quit this last year, 2024, in November. So it hasn't been that long.
It's been a couple of months. Yeah. So and
that has been super, super exciting.
And in this past year with our marketing agency, we've grown over 1,000%, which is insane. And now we're like spending over like millions on ads for clients.
It's cool getting some really good results for clients. Like we have some really, really good case studies and testimonials, and it's pretty
10x
awesome.
ROAS, and like it's awesome to be. I feel like advertising is just so amazing. It almost feels like you're a magician. You can touch any business and turn it to gold. And I feel it's such a powerful tool, because long term, obviously, we have a lot of businesses we want to do, and it's like, since we have an advertising agency, we have like a magic wand. We touch this one, it turns to gold, because we know how to advertise, and that's everything in a business. Being able to bring in leads, it's so powerful.
So what about the podcast? Like, you want to talk about the goals we have for the podcast and how we're building it?
So I feel like we've been able to meet a lot of really cool people with what we do, right? And we work directly with entrepreneurs, business owners, content creators, etc. And everyone has such a unique story. And I feel like being an entrepreneur is not tough. Everyone has had that moment where they're like, damn, like, is this even worth it? Or like, am I doing the right stuff? should I just quit now? Should I pivot? And everyone goes through challenges, but very few people talk about it. And I feel like we met a lot of really cool people through our job, and now I'm like, man, I want to showcase people's stories and show the real behind the scenes of what it's like to run a business, or show the real behind the scenes of a time that they've had to go through some challenges and how they overcome it. Because there's a lot of people where even us, we've been in a position where I'm like, oh my God, should we pivot here? Is this the right thing, right? But how cool is it to be able to watch a podcast where somebody has a marketing agency and they talk about that struggle, and then we'll bring that up, be like, oh, they went through that too. That's a normal phase, and it's just like, that's why we call it to great, because everyone goes through challenging times, but that makes you great.
Yeah, and I feel like that's when you learn the most, when you go through challenges and obstacles, and that's literally when you learn the most in business and life.
It's a part of the journey.
So we do want to talk about some of those stories that people face in certain businesses, because that's a constant thing.
Yeah.
I heard someone say that entrepreneurship is like the biggest personal development journey, basically, because you're always going through, it never ends. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like it's crazy. It's kind of full circle, because when we first started hanging out or dating, we filmed a podcast together.
Yeah, we did.
This was like over 5 years ago.
So I had a podcast called 𝗖cieós, and I think you were one of the...
You're like one of your first guests.
You're the first guest on it, yeah.
Yeah, wow, and, full circle.
Full circle.
But I'm really excited with what we're doing with Great Marketing AI. That's our advertising agency. We have Grit to Great podcast. We have Great Marketing Masterminds coming soon. We're actually going to be doing our first ever mastermind here in OC. So we have a lot of great things planned.
And the school community as well coming soon.
We have a school community coming soon.
We're doing a lot of cool stuff this year, and a lot of things we're doing differently, I think. As well.
Oh yeah, we've learned and grown so much. And one thing with the podcast is I want people to watch an episode and be like, I can start to implement that into my business. Yeah. Where people can take tactical things that they can learn and be like, okay, maybe I should be implementing this. I don't want it to just be, I think storytelling is great, but one thing is really important is people are actually learning and taking things from the podcast and applying it to their business. Yeah.
We're definitely taking inspo from some channels that we watch ourselves, like business channels, where when we watch it, we're like, wow, that is really practical.
Yeah, well, I'm excited. And we actually have a fun little segment that we do at every single show.
Yeah. So we're trying to make this kind of fun, but also with business. So we have a few segments that we're going to be doing with our guests when we bring them on.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to be pretty fun. And we'll probably spice things up as we go. Maybe bring some hot sauce on the show. No,
what's that show called where you eat the hot ones?
They actually, I read recently that they sold for like 80 million or something like that.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and it started from a podcast with some hot sauce.
Wow. We wear all white all the time.
Yeah, I don't think it'd work out for this.
That'd be interesting. But yeah, it's a little bit about how Ralph and I came to about, but I feel like it was meant to be from the start. Like I knew instantly, and I've never met anyone like him. And you touched my notary business, and it turned to gold once you joined. And that's when I knew. I was like, man, this guy's a genius, and we're going to build some really great things together.
If you like this episode, make sure to stay tuned. We have some really exciting guests coming on the show in these next few episodes.
And if you have anyone that you want to see on the show, comment down below.
Or any questions, like burning questions you want to ask entrepreneurs for the show. We want to ask those, those burning questions that people have that want to know that what business owners go through. So,
Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll see you on the next episode. Bye.